All right, awesome. Let's get rolling. My name is Andrew Bourget, head of customer operations for ShipAngel. I have a almost 15-year career in international shipping and logistics, most of which is on the ocean carrier side, as well as the 3PL side of the business. And I also spent some time working at a BCO. ShipAngel is an AI-powered operating system for international shipping. Our our core product is what we call our rate management system. And so I'm going to show you a little bit about our rate management system today, how it works, what it looks like, and what it feels like, and how it can potentially benefit you in your day-to-day international freight operations. The ShipAngel platform was built on the idea of enterprise technology. And so we can very quickly sign in with a SSO, whether it be with a Microsoft or another platform or your Google account, whatever your system is using or your IT system is using. Once you log into the platform, ShipAngel is very configurable. Additionally, we have the ability to allow you to utilize the system on mobile device. And so I'm going to drag over here. This is just a screen share of my iPhone. And what's really useful here in the system is whether you're on the go or you're at your desktop, you're always going to have the ability to search and understand your rates. The most important part of the ShipAngel system is our search function. And so inside the search function for ocean, air, and trucking, you're going to get the ability to really search your rates and develop answers to questions you may have. And so from here, I can type in China, I can type in the port code for Shanghai, or I can type in other port codes or type out the word Shanghai, all of which are going to give me options to select to then search for in the platform. Additionally, you could also search for multiple origins. If you wanted to look for rates out of Shanghai and Algeciras, et cetera, you're going to get that ability to really understand what places or place do I want to search from and what places or place do I want to search to. Today, I'm going to use Shanghai to New York City, which is one of my favorite lanes to review inside what is our test account called Banana Cola. Once I search for the rates, the system's going to come back and compile all of the options and results from Shanghai to New York City. And so in this scenario, I got 4 different results. As I scroll through here, you can see the results are populating inside this platform and giving you a whole bunch of data to review and understand. Inside the system, we've developed the idea of filters. And so very, very quickly, I could say Shanghai to New York City, click search. And then in filters, I could say, you know what, I want to see just my Hapag-Lloyd rates. Alternatively, you could also utilize filters around container size or equipment type. I need a very specific 45-foot rate. I need a very specific equipment type. You can filter through your rates to understand what are my rates on these various lanes and how can I very quickly get access to these rates and information. Additionally, there's other useful aspects here of like transit time. If you are working on an order or a shipment and I need something that's less than 38 days, I need something that's closer to 33 days, we can populate the results to give you those time frames that you're looking for to potentially move some cargo on. Additionally, we have some filters around transshipments. And so that's a big one, in the industry. You don't want to ship something that has multiple transshipments. And so we can find results that are direct or potentially results that are specifically transshipping through a location that you are okay to transship through. Maybe you want to use Algeciras, but you don't want to use a transshipment in Italy for, maybe different port strike options or different scenarios where you can't utilize certain ports. The filters can very quickly help you narrow down your search results. Inside the rate cards, you get a lot of information that can help you understand your rates. And so we know this is a port-to-port rate with CMA. It was last uploaded in May. The actual validity of the rate is good until the end of March 2026. Additionally, we can understand what's the service that this is moving on. And so your provider probably gives you allocations. They tell you you can move 10 TEUs a week on the Manhattan Bridge service for CMA. And you can put this information front and center on your rate cards for you and the rest of your organization to know, hey, I need to book on the Manhattan Bridge service. And if there's an allocation associated with this, we could also show that right next to this here on the right where you'd see Manhattan Bridge, 10 TEUs. Additionally, we give you transit time information. And so this 28 days that's listed here is your transit time based on what CMA tells you. So CMA is giving you a 28-day transit time. Alternatively, this could be a 28-day lead time. And so you might calculate, hey, the transit is 20 days, and then I add 6, 7, 8 days for a buffer on either end to account for my total lead time of 28. And what's super useful here is the ShipAngel platform. We bring in third-party data. And one of the most important third-party data sets we bring in is schedule data. And with that comes transit time information. And so now very quickly, I can see Shanghai to New York City for CMA CGM. The market transit time on this lane is actually 33 days. And inside the schedules tab is where you're going to start to see a lot of information to understand ETD, ETA on some potential shipments that I could move on, but also you can start to validate the transit times. Hey, I have a Manhattan Bridge service, that's 27 days. There's other Vespucci, there's other services maybe I could consider, but what is the overall transit on this lane and how does it compare to my KPI of 28 days? Additionally, at the bottom of the rate card is where you get the all-in value of this lane. And we can say, hey, for a 40-foot, 40 high cube, 45-foot container, my total cost here is $2,082. And additionally, we start to bring in some sort of arrows where green is good, meaning your rate has come down a little bit, versus a red arrow up would mean, hey, your rate's gone up a little bit. What this can allow you to do is really spot check, hey, this is my lowest rate, and how does it compare a little bit to what my rates are trending lately. Additionally, on the right side of this rate card, we give you the ability to get access to your rates and understand how have they changed over time. And so what I can do is filter between container size, and I can filter by 3 or 6 months. And I can understand over the last 6 months, how has my CMA CGM rate changed? And additionally, as I move this through time on the green line, what you're going to see here is in comparison to the market is where we bring in that third-party benchmark data. And so now what I'm able to do is say, based on my rate today on August 6th, 2025, or what is my rate in comparison to the market? In this scenario, this CMA rate is 20% lower than the market average. And so what we're doing is we're looking at long-term market average data to tell you your rate is either competitive or not competitive. And so what it allows you to do is understand, what does my rate mean via third-party data, not just what my rates compare to my other providers, CMA versus HAPAG. How does my rate compare against the market, and is it competitive or not? This is what we do to bring in that third-party data on transit time and also that third-party data for market rates. Often I like to call it, what does my rate mean? Not just what is my rate, or how fast is it, how slow is it. We can really give you information to really understand what your rate is: fast, slow, competitive, or not competitive. Additionally, in the rate card, we can break out the individual surcharges. And so we can know, based on the base rate, based on the securities, and based on the bunker, how do I get to that total all-in cost of $2,082 per 40-foot container? And what's super useful here is, as rates change over time, I can go back to May 1st and I can understand, hey, my bunker was $179, but on May 1st, what was my bunker charge? And so when I go back to May 1st and I go to the CMA rate card, we can see, hey, my bunker is $179. It hasn't changed, but my all-in value has changed, because it used to be 2707 and it has come down slightly since then. What this is useful for is when you start looking at the idea of bringing in your finance team to the platform, they can utilize the rate data to validate invoices, whether they're correct or incorrect. So you get this ability to search any origin and any destination for ocean freight, but we also have the ability to do this for air freight. And so I'm going to come in here and look at a shipment in this scenario from Bangkok to Los Angeles. And what the system is able to do is give me that Bangkok to Los Angeles rate card. It's going to show me at the bottom of the screen all of the various rates per kilo at the different weight breaks. And so less than 45, greater than 45, greater than 100, et cetera, et cetera. What are my costs per kilo? Additionally, on the rate card, we're going to give you transit time information. We're going to give you departure day information. If you know when the plane is leaving, either on a number of times per week or a specific day of the week, you can start to understand that. We also give you access to that rate benchmarking data, similar to how we do it in the ocean. And so here I can understand for the last 6 months, how has my rate trended in green, and how does that compare against where the market rates are? And what's useful here is I can filter through the different weight breaks. If I'm a shipper who mostly ships on a plus 300 kilo basis, I can then filter to that plus 300 and understand, although my rate was good on the less than 45 kilo weight break, at 300 or greater, my rate is actually a little bit higher than where the market average rate, meaning I should go back to DSV on this lane and start to have a conversation with them and say, hey, my rates probably could be a little bit more competitive on this lane. Additionally, here, we also give you access to the surcharge section of your rate data. And so I can very quickly understand, of my air freight rate, what is the rates that account for my air freight? What are the rates that account for my origin charges? And what are the rates that account for my destination charges? In this scenario, this is only an air freight rate. So only the air freight costs, the air freight, the FSC, and the SSC have been calculated, but we could also have rates that are more of a door-to-door basis. And so I'm going to do a different search here to get some more results, and I can start to look at rates, not just from a Ningbo to an LA airport. We can also start to find some rates that are more of an origin door to a destination door basis, depending on how your rates are set up. Additionally, what we give you guys access to is the ability to put in a chargeable weight. And so you might know, weight break information is wonderful, but $8.64 per kilo doesn't exactly give me my total cost. And so what we can do here is start to populate information like, I'm going to ship 508 chargeable weight in kilos. And when I put this in, what the rate cards are then going to do is calculate what that total cost is on a per shipment basis. And so on Bangkok to Los Angeles, the total, if I were to ship with DSV, is going to be this $3,525.12. We can help you calculate down to a cent level, what is my cost per shipment? Additionally, when I come into the surcharge section, what you'll see here is this greater than 300 kilo section is now highlighted. And so I know all of these costs have been accounted for based on minimum values, based on the cost per kilo, to get me a total cost of $3,525. So that I know, should I need to evaluate who to use on a potential shipment, I know at 408 kilos on a chargeable weight basis, this is the provider that I should be moving on based on cost. And this is exactly what it'll cost me on a per kilo and a total cost basis. Additionally, we have the modality of trucking built into the platform. And so you can do a search, whether it be ocean, air, and trucking, and get results. And so I'm just going to pull up what we call a blank search here. And you're going to see a bunch of different results from origin to destination for some trucking rates. And so what this allows is multiple teams who manage multiple modalities of shipments all can be using the system at once based on their modality. You don't need two systems because one person does air freight and one person does ocean freight. All of this can live inside one platform, one single source of truth for your entire organization. And what's super useful here is inside our settings section, when I go to roles and users, what it's nice is I can start to bring different parts of my organization into the platform, and I can start to give them specific visibility. And so maybe we have developed a sales role inside the business where they can only see the lowest rates. They don't have the ability to export. They don't have the ability to download. You have ultimate control over who can see what inside your platform to ensure that if your finance team is working in here, they don't see things that they shouldn't see. In this case, we're talking about a sales team. We need to give them only the information that they're required to see. They should be able to see inside the platform. The second most important part of the ShipAngel platform is our ability to process rate sheets via our artificial intelligence. And so we consider ourselves an AI native platform, but what is really important is not just a LLM that is producing, analytics and data around your rates. What we have built is a system, and I'm going to pull over a picture here on the screen to give you an idea, is we're able to bring in all your rate quotes, all of your RFP data, all of your RFQ data, all of your spot rate data. And we're able to bring all of that data into the platform without you having to manually punch this data into a form or asking or requiring your vendors to manually punch this data and put it into a form. What that means practically for a BCO is that they just need to negotiate the rates, whether that's an Excel sheet, a PDF, an email attachment, or some kind of third-party portal or API data, send that data to ShipAngel. We process that through our AI, artificial intelligence system that we've developed internally that lives on our AWS server. It doesn't go to an LLM to be processed. It sits in our server by the systems that we have built. And from there, we process and show this data onto the platform for ultimate visibility 24/7, 365. As the rates get updated, so does the platform. So does your team member in Poland who does shipments, 16 shipments a day. They're always going to be working with the most updated rates every day to ensure that they're making the right decisions, but also allowing them to work in an environment where they don't have to sit there and punch in the data or require their vendor to punch in the data. What that looks like inside the ShipAngel platform is as rate sheets come in, they go into either a pending status or an active status. Additionally, we bring in rate sheets to what is called our amendment guard system. And so inside the amendment guard system, we're able to process the rates and then present them to you for validation. And so we always have two ways of getting rates into the system. We can directly upload, put them into the platform, or we give the ability for you to validate the rates as they've come in. So this is an example of a rate sheet that was uploaded just a few minutes ago by me. And what this is a DSV rate sheet that encompasses rates for the month of August. In this rate sheet, you're going to get the ability to say, hey, how do these rates compare versus the rates I already have in the system for this vendor? In this scenario, we don't have rates in the system for the vendor because they don't have any current rates. So what's useful here is in the top right, I can compare two active rates, or I can go back and look at rates from a different month. In this scenario, I'm going to select July 2025. What the system is going to now do is compare these rates versus the rates that came in July. What is the dollars and cents difference between these rates? And what is the total all-in value of these rates that have come in? What this is going to allow you to do is really benchmark and understand, hey, DSV is sending me a rate. Is it what I negotiated? Is this amendment to my contract at $3,617? Is it exactly what I expected to get and see? Or did their FMC regulated contractual amendment match what they quoted me? And so we have customers today that are uploading their quotes as they receive them and then validating their quotes against the FMC contracts that are coming in to understand, did the contract amendment match the quote that I had sent over to be processed? What this does is allow you to get ultimate visibility and control into the rates that are coming into your platform, whether it be on a quotation basis or a contract amendment basis. I know what rates are coming in. I know what team members are processing what rates. And if there's ever a question of, hey, this DSV rate from June, it doesn't look right. Let me take a look at the original file. Let me go talk to Charles and understand, hey, Charles, you negotiated a rate that wasn't super competitive. How can we avoid this in the future to ensure that we have the most competitive rates and we upload the rates that we want in the platform? Additionally, the ShipAngel system has what we call an AI co-pilot. And so we process your rates via artificial intelligence, and that machine learning AI system that pulls out the origins, the destination, the surcharges, and the validities is also generating good answers to questions that you may have. And so this co-pilot allows you to come in and say, what is my 40 high cube rate Shanghai to New York City for MSC? We can ask very specific, very narrow questions and get answers, or we can start to think bigger picture. What are some questions that I may ask or be asked of me on a monthly or quarterly basis from my management that I don't necessarily have the ability to answer right away, but if I ask the co-pilot, it can start to point me in the right direction. And so this scenario, we got a very specific answer on what my rate is for a lane on a singular provider. I can also start to say, what is my average 40 high cube rate Shanghai to New York City for all vendors. What the system is going to do is go and try to answer that question for you. And so you might be between meetings. You might be walking down the hall, going from one conference room to the next. You might be running to grab a coffee at your house prior to your next Zoom call. And what the system can do is start to answer those questions for you in a mere seconds on something that you could do with data in an Excel sheet. You could figure out what your average price was based on different vendors. You could also search inside the ShipAngel platform and search for this information, write it down, punch it into a calculator, or you can simply ask the same AI that is processing your rates can now also process your requests on information to get, hey, $2,367.75 is your average rate based on your different providers. Maybe you use this number for benchmarking. Maybe you use this number for, contract budgeting for next year. There's lots of different ways and different questions you can ask the Copilot to get answers. I always use the phrase, and I used it just this morning on a demo with a customer, no one scrolls through their rates just for fun. No one goes into their rate spreadsheets or hopefully their ShipAngel platform and just sits here and goes, let me just look at my rates today for fun. They're usually asking various questions. And what we can allow you to do is ask those questions to get direct answers or ask those questions to understand trends and to evaluate potential decisions in using data to make data-driven decisions. Additionally, inside the ShipAngel platform, we've built what we call a rate management system on the cornerstone of rates. And so we can manage your rates, we can understand your rates, we can help you make better decision based on your rates in third-party data. But what we're also doing is starting to bring in the idea of invoice auditing, which is super important process that every international shipper, every business, whether it be ocean shipping, air freight, or trucking, even financial companies need to understand the invoices that are coming in. Did those match what we expected to be billed? And should we pay that invoice or not? Ultimately, inside the ShipAngel platform, what we can do is allow you to come in and upload invoices. And so I could attach one invoice, I could attach 1,000 invoices, and I could let the system do the auditing for me. Additionally, instead of uploading directly, we could develop direct connections with your providers as they produce invoices. They could API those data over to us. They could also potentially send those invoices via email. When those come into our system, what we're going to do is initially do what's called parsing in the business. And what we're going to do is look at the invoice here. And this is a picture of an invoice or PDF version. And we're going to pull out the invoice number, the vendor, the origin, the destination. We're going to pull out the rate that this was billed on, or at least the rate that the price is calculated on. And then what we're going to do is understand what was the rates that I was billed. And so this invoice included 3 line items, a basic freight, a bunker charge, and a bill of lading charge. From here, we're able to basically extract this data from the invoice and show it here in the platform. And then what our system is able to do, utilizing our artificial intelligence machine, the same one we showed you in Copilot and the same AI that we utilize to process rates, and we're now going to show you what the system expected to be billed on this, whether it's 1 container or 10 containers. We can show you an expected amount and then compare expected versus invoice to understand what the discrepancies are. And what's relevant here is you might get 100, 200, 1,000 invoices in a given month. And what you can do is now understand, okay, of those 1,000, where do I need to spend my time managing invoices? It's the idea of managing by exception, not managing what goes correctly. And so I'm going to spend my time on this to say, hey, we expected $2,500, but we got billed $2,612. $112 on a percentage basis is small on this invoice, but $1 is in my pocket versus my vendor's pocket that I should have in my pocket. And so from here, you can start to work with your vendor to get this invoice corrected, or understand why they potentially overbilled you. Maybe they are planning on rebilling you a different amount on another invoice. Maybe this is a split shipment. It got delayed. There could be many different reasons. Most likely the reason is they billed you incorrectly, and we can give you the tools to then find that discrepancy. What's useful here, and something that we're finding customers really like the ability to utilize our invoice auditing function, is to now extract this information. And so I can bring this invoice data out of the ShipAngel application. I potentially could put it into my financial system, my ERP system, and I can mark invoices for payment, but I can also start to understand, what am I being billed? What are the line item details that I'm being billed by my vendors that accounts for my supply chain? And so it's one thing to build budgets based off of rates that you have and rates you think you'll have based on a monthly or quarterly basis. It's a lot more accurate to then understand, what am I actually being billed? Am I being billed more than what my rates are? And should I be able to address that difference potentially with my vendors or with my decision-making process for new shipments? And so automated invoice auditing is a really valuable feature that we've built out our AI technology around, to be able to automate that process of, hopefully at a very least, narrowing my scope of focus from 100 invoices potentially down to the 5 or 6 that are incorrect. But we also give you that ability to extract that data from invoices and show it in a platform like ShipAngel, but also be able to bring that data into other systems that otherwise would have had to been manually keyed in by someone either in an office or someone in a third-party BPO center. I've showed you guys a lot of the platform. I haven't seen any questions, at least in the comments section. But ShipAngel, we are building technology for the future, and we're trying to solve the biggest problems in international shipping rates. And we've started with rates. We're transitioning to new features to build on top of those rates. And hopefully tomorrow, and proverbially tomorrow and in the future, we can be that operating system for your international shipments and your international supply chain. I'm Andrew Bourget, Head of Customer Operations for ShipAngel. I really hope to talk to some of you here in the future. If you guys have questions, please reach out. We really want to talk to you. We can potentially bring your data into the platform. And so everything you saw today is data that we've kind of curated for our hypothetical customer, Banana Cola. We'd love to bring your data into the platform and show you how the system could work for you. Our COO, Dan, is very much under the impression that we want to show you how it works, not just tell you how it works. So please reach out. Don't be a stranger. Again, my name is Andrew Bourget, Head of Customer Operations, and I really look forward to talking with you guys in the future. Don't be a stranger. Talk soon, guys.